All right, welcome back to Real YouTube Mastermind. My guest today has taken his channel to over 17,000 subscribers and is just killing it in the YouTube game, millions of views, and it's helping out his real estate business. This guy needs little introduction because he is the man. Welcome on Ken Pozek out of Orlando. Thanks for coming on the channel, man.
Dude, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a step back. Let's talk about Ken before YouTube
Mhm.
and real estate and what made you get into YouTube, and then we'll talk about your channel and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, dude. So I moved here to Orlando like 5 years ago, and I was an agent before. Like I've been an agent since 2007, and was very like sphere based, very like just like old school real estate, no video really at all. And then we moved to Orlando, started over, and I had some money saved up, but I didn't really know what to do. Like, how do you start over in a town you don't know anybody at all? And so it was like I'm buying Zillow, I'm buying radio ads, I'm doing like, farming, I'm doing all this kind of crazy stuff. And like somebody just sort of introduced me to this idea of like, hey, YouTube's pretty cool for like a search engine. I'm doing these new model home tours on another area of Orlando, of Florida, and you should try it. So I did some model home tours for like, I did like 100 videos in 100 days. And the model home tours, they weren't getting picked up. I'm getting like 5 views, 6 views, nothing crazy like so many agents do. And probably those 5 views were my mom watching them a few times. And then I did this one video just literally to me and my cell phone, just walking around. And it was like the top 10 things you need to know about Celebration, Florida. And that video like like just took off. And it was just literally me and a gimbal, no mic, no fancy anything, me just editing it on iMovie. And all of a sudden, like a few months later, people started calling me. And it was like, yeah, yeah, right there, the second one in the middle there, the get to know Celebration Florida. The thumbnail is terrible. That was like before I even got to realize what thumbnails were. And it has like 143,000 views. And we still get people that call us from that today. But anyways, so then I kind of got into this idea of like, okay, there's something else here that I need to like realize that this video took off where the other ones weren't, and what can I do differently? And so started getting into like following Daryl Eves and a bunch of other like YouTubers that talk about how to grow a channel. And it was like making the mindset shift around like not just showing the videos that like I want to see, or like, that are all about Ken, but are like about searchable content that people are actually going to discover. And so making that shift, it's been a lot of fun. So anyways, fast forward to today, we'll do something like 135 million in volume for my
Jeez.
team. Yeah, and like 30, actually, as of this morning, 39% of that came directly from YouTube. Like people reaching out, hey, we saw you on YouTube. We've been following you for a really long time. Who on your team do we work with? And let's go. And so it's been a lot of fun.
So that's a good question I have then. So did you have the team before YouTube, or did you have to start growing the team because of YouTube?
Yes. So in Michigan, I had a small team, like 3 buyers agents and an assistant. And then when I came here, I hired an assistant to help me grow my business, just kind of organically. And then as we started getting more and more leads, I started bringing on more and more agents. And the one thing I talk about, Jeremy, is like the funny thing about YouTube is like it's great for leads, but it's also great for like agent referrals. I think that's like not talked about enough. Like you like I know that there's probably a ton of agents in Austin, but I know you because you're constantly posting videos about
Correct.
Austin. And so when I'm thinking about, okay, if I got an Austin referral, who's the first person that comes to mind? Oh, Jeremy. Right. And so our agent referrals have gone through the roof. Like we've done over $600,000 in GCI this year from agent referrals. And so, your lead conversion gets better, everything gets better because of it. And so we had to build out this team to sort of support all the leads.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm in the same position where it's so I'm at Real, and so I can have a little bit of flexibility, just bring agents into my front line. But um, the challenge I ran into is like, okay, I think I actually need a full team, and I'm like been fighting that. Like, I don't want a team, I don't want the responsibility of a team, but if I keep creating YouTube content, like I have to grow somewhere. So
Yeah.
did you find at a certain point, like, you're at 17,000 subs, was there a certain sub number where you go, oh crap, I need more people?
No, I think for me, because we had so many other channels coming and growing at the same time, to where I was like, I think to the point where you start having poor service for the leads that you have, that's your first indicator.
Yeah.
So right now we get anywhere between like 4 and 17 leads, I think was our biggest day last month of YouTube leads alone. But then we've got all these other channels and sources that we get leads from as well. And so as soon as you start like realizing that I'm not being a really good steward over these people coming in, and we're not talking Facebook leads where they don't know you. Like Jeremy, like they watch your channel, they watch my channel, and they're like bought in. Like they want to work with us, they want to hear from us. And so to have somebody reach out and then you kind of like drop the ball, you sort of betray their trust in my opinion. And so like
Yeah.
as soon as you start see some of that stuff happen, like you need to leverage, yes, you're giving up part of your commission, but at the same time, those leads are super good, super like really well converting leads. And so you can hire talent. You can be really picky on the agents that you choose because like, hey, listen, I'm not having you cold call for a living, right? You're dealing with people that already want to work with us as a team. And so the value proposition is really, really high, especially for people in the creator space.
Yeah, that's one thing that I find, and I had Chi on earlier today, and we were talking with HG TV.
Yeah.
Just video content in general. If you're putting video content out there and you're consistent with it, people feel like they know you. I would say one of the first like really good YouTube leads that came into Austin was like Jeremy, our favorite Austin realtor, because that's always my hook at the beginning of my videos. So I was like, wait, what? It just threw me
Yeah.
back because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, great.
I, uh,
Um,
I I end every one of my videos with, we want to be your real estate resource of choice. And so the amount of times that that comes in as a subject line, like our real estate resource of choice, I'm like, it still kind of blows me away.
Yeah, that's crazy. So the content is very important, obviously. So you have a lot of content on your channel. Was there one piece of content? We talked about it earlier. You said there was one video that started blowing up, but what was the content that really started propelling your channel and getting you more views and getting clients starting to call you? Was there a content or is just a catalog of content?
I think it was a catalog of content. I mean, that one right there, that Celebration Florida one, like I think I went from like zero leads to like one a week very consistently from that one video. But then after that, it just kind of became like, putting out at least one video a week. Now we're doing like one video a week plus one live a week. And, I think it's just that consistency. And so it's interesting because like now I have an inside salesperson who answers all of the emails and phone calls that we get from YouTube. And she's like, typically asking like, oh, so what, was there a video you watched in particular? And a lot of times these people are like, no, we've been following Ken for like a year and a half. We're finally ready to make the move. Right. So, yeah, it's just a little bit of everything.
I get those emails too. I love you. I watched your channel for a year. I'm like, geez. And
Jesus.
I think that's a really important thing that most agents that, if you look at your channel, 17,000 subscribers, obviously you have a ton of content. You're doing the live streams, you're putting out one piece or more a week. Um, but the reality is that it's a lot of content you put out. And I find a lot of agents that are struggle with trying to get this as a lead source, they stop after a like a certain point, right? They get
Yeah.
frustrated or they get too busy. What advice would you give somebody who's either A, getting too busy or just frustrated they're not getting content or not getting business from it?
So that's a really great question. So I think that a lot of agents, they understand that like if you want to become like a farming agent, like, and when I say farming, I mean like old school, like postcards. Like that's where I started in the business. Like when I left Michigan, I was sending like 25,000 pieces a month. Like I understood that if I went into a new geographic area, it was going to take me 6 to 8 months to kind of get any traction, and really like a year to a year and a half before I was like, getting 10, 20% of the market share for that farm. So like that makes sense to me, like the time on task over time. If you were going to do, if you were going to build your business on open houses, how many open houses would you have to do in order to get the kind of business you want? It'd have to be dozens, right? Before you're like really getting a pipeline that actually kept you busy. And so, and yet when you switch over to videos, agents are like, oh, I tried YouTube. I put out like 4 or 5 videos. I didn't get anything. And you're
Yeah.
like, what the heck? Like, I mean, everything in this business worth doing takes time. And so YouTube is definitely is no different.
There was a time, so during the pandemics when I was started, really like right before the pandemics when I started my channel, and the pandemic hit. And the first couple weeks of the pandemic, I was like, no, actually, the first week, I'm like, nobody's gonna watch my videos. And then I saw a couple creators still putting stuff out. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I've got time. I might
Yeah.
as well just film as much as I can while I have this time.
Yeah.
Do you find that there was a time where you just batched a bunch of content, or how do you like film all of your content in a week?
Yeah, so we usually like this morning we did 6 videos actually. Some of them were like agent interviews on my team, but then we did some like local searchable content that'll go on our main channel. And so we're typically shooting 2 to 3 weeks in advance. And then that way, like if I miss a week with my videographer for whatever reason, I'm still consistently posting. And so I think batch shooting is a brilliant way to like time manage. You either if you're shooting on your own, whatever it is, like talking head videos, go shoot 2 3 at a time, get them all edited and get them in the pipeline. And then if you can kind of the awesome thing about that too is like you can pick which video you're going to go at. It's not like you're pigeonholed into the one video for the week. I know that this it can be really cumbersome for people and they get really nervous about like how am I ever going to come up with more ideas or all of this kind of stuff. But the cool thing is like I mean, it's kind of endless, like how much you can really talk about. So yeah, batch shooting for us is a big deal.
Yeah, I find that, every week I'm like, okay, I have these ideas, but then I'm like, I don't really want to do that this week. I don't want to film that this week. So is there content that you think if somebody's getting tired of filming a specific content, what content do you think agents should be focusing on in order to either A, grow their channel or to get them more business? Because obviously that's what we want, right? Is more business.
Yeah, I mean, going back to like the whole Daryl Eves thing that I talked about, he talks about this concept of having different buckets, and I think Christina Smallhorn, if you talk to her, she's a big proponent of that as well. And so I think there's probably like 2 or 3 buckets that all of us can kind of keep in. It's going to be like the moving to content, right? You're going to get some people that are moving to the area that are going to be Googling, moving to Austin, moving to Austin suburbs. What are the top 5 neighborhoods in Austin? And so you start putting yourself in that mindset. I think that needs to be a bucket, like the moving to or living in bucket. And then I think you need at least 1 or 2 others that keep your subscribers coming back. Because what now we're seeing, having done YouTube for 3 years, is that people found me 2 years ago. They used their brother, their cousin, their coworker to buy a house, but now they're getting ready to upsize, relocate, whatever. And they're like, hey, that person's already out of the business, but I've been following you now for the past 3 years and we want to sell with you. And so to me,
Nice.
that's been a kind of an eye opener. And so I think your buckets, you need to have everything should be searchable, but then you're also got to think about what's the psychology of your subscriber. Like once you get them into your ecosystem, how do you make sure they don't unsubscribe? And so that's where we're kind of doing a bunch of stuff. So you'll notice like a video I put out 2 days ago. I kind of feel like I hit gold a little bit around this one. I almost don't want to talk about it live, but I will anyways. So I did a couple of videos like coming to like if you look at like they're so silly because it's talking head. It's literally me in my office here talking head. The top left one. I mean, 2 days ago I got 5,100 views already. And you'll see my average
Nice.
channel view is like 3,500.
Yeah.
And so like consistently it's 5,000. So the last one I did coming soon also got like 14,000 views. And so people just want to know about their town. And so for me, that's going to be another bucket we talk about we're probably going to do it at least bi-weekly of like, hey, here's cool new things that I found out coming to Orlando. And it's new neighborhoods, new coffee shops, new huge developments, new jobs coming, new whatever it is. People want to know about their hometown. And I didn't think I was going to get that many views on something
Yeah.
that's really not very like searchable, but like people dig it. And so I'm going to lean into that one.
Nice. So the one critique that I always hear agents say is that, oh, YouTube is only for buyers.
Mhm.
I think I've done some things on my channel to make it where I'm getting more sellers. But do you find that there's content that you can weave in to get sellers? And are you getting sellers from YouTube?
Yeah, we are. And so it was like agreed. It was 99%. 99% of the time it was buyer leads when we first started out. And now it's more like 85-15, where it's 85% buyers. So it's still buyer heavy. But the other thing about YouTube is like we're sharing our YouTube channel on our weekly newsletter that goes out to now 12,000 people via email. And the amount of like sphere referrals, past client referrals that turn in that are a lot of times sellers that come from that has been great. And so, when I look at our business as a whole, we're now shifting to where we're seeing more and more seller leads come in, the more consistent we get with the channel.
And I feel like too, like one thing that's going to happen is you're going to sell to somebody who is a buyer. Now they come to you a couple years later. That's still potentially a YouTube lead because they just been paying attention to you for that long, even though
Yeah.
you sold them a house years ago. One thing I always want to hit on with most agents that are in YouTube that are doing content creation, I feel like, a lot of agents that are getting into YouTube or getting into video, they see my channel, your channel, the channel, go, I can't do that because I don't want to spend the money to do it. So, if somebody's starting out on YouTube, what's the easiest way for them to do it? And then from there, what are you seeing average on costs right now that you're a bigger channel? Like, what are you spending to get there?
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing I think about, like I look at your channel, man, or even how you're shooting right now. You know, you got green screen behind you. I'm here in my home office. Like I've got a nicer camera now, but like, set something up to where it doesn't have to be crazy expensive. And so you could do talking head videos, add in some B-roll, and for $50, $60, have somebody edit it for you and turn out some decent content. And so if you look at my channel, like the ones like the second playlist is like the most viewed ones. Like I've got one at a 500,000 views, and that's my tour of Shaq's house. It's got like 555,000 views or something like that. There you go, yeah, on the left there. And so that's awesome. That was with two
That's crazy.
videographers. Yeah, like that was like two videographers, like a whole big deal, right? And then the one right next to it, my second biggest video was me and my cell phone that I edited on my Mac myself, like just with iMovie. It was completely free of charge. And yet I probably close a lot more with the one from Celebration than I did with the one on Shaq. And so I think you got to realize that like it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent and has to be honest and authentic kind of stuff. And that's going to go a lot farther than like hiring a videographer. At this point for me, like I have a videographer because I get to buy my time back. I don't have
Right.
to edit and do all the other kind of stuff myself anymore. And so that's, in anything in this business, like we're trying to leverage our time to get to the thing that we'd like to do the most. And if that's for me, it's content creation, but I don't love editing and all that. So does that help
I'm
out?
right there with you. I finally hired somebody, and I was looking last night at what my cost was for this person per month, and then I look at like how much we make off of the video and the content, and I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. For a lot of people, though, they look at that cost and it's scary, right? Because they're probably paying for leads right now,
Yeah.
and then knowing that this is going to take 6 to 8 months to actually create continual business, and then they get busy and they stop, creating content because they're too busy.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation for agents on paid ads?
So I did paid ads on a couple of my videos early on and like 2 years ago. And I wasn't getting any more leads. I was getting more views. And if I followed back subscribers, I was not getting more subscribers. Actually, it was, my watch time was way less. I was getting like a lot more thumbs down. People weren't engaging. People weren't reaching out to buy or sell more from that video or not. And so I just don't think that it's worth it. I think if you go, because here's the thing, like as soon as you stop running ads, you stop getting views. I think in regard, and then this is the only thing I'm going to say,
I
like I
agree.
think because I don't really know. But as soon as you stop getting paid views, all this because there's no algorithm that Google's running that says like this is an amazing video. The only reason why this video is getting a ton of views is because you're paying for it. The moment
Right.
you stop, the moment the views stop, and like I just don't think that's a sustainable sort of thing. Um, and that's just my opinion. And so for me, I'm trying to figure out how can I make my YouTube channel an asset that runs with me, whether I don't invest another dollar at this point or not. And so I'm not having to pay Zillow and Realtor.com and all the other kind of stuff. And so, yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing that, somebody asked me the other day, I think it was Katie Day on one of her podcasts. She's like, what's the thing that's going to put agents out of business? Agents are going to put agents because, she's talking about iBuyer and all this stuff. I was
hmm
like, agents are going to put themselves out of business because they're paying Zillow, they're paying people that are trying to put them actively out of business. They're funding that.
yeah.
Um, One other question I had about in regards to the content creation and paid views, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis in SEO.
Mm.
Is SEO the important part? Is it titles and thumbnails? What do you think is the most important to get somebody to actually click and watch your video?
I mean, I think thumbnails is the most important piece if they're going to click or not. I mean, that's I think that it's all plays well together, right? So the title and the description are going to allow you to get found, or like you're going to signal to Google what your video is about. But if people don't actually click on the thumbnail, like it doesn't matter. And so like you notice like my videos have gotten a little bit better on the terms of the thumbnails. I don't have any fire in mine, believe it or not. Um, they've gotten a little bit better over time, and so I think we're running right around 6% click through rate, and so to
Nice.
me that's good. And so I'm just trying to get a little bit better along the way.
Okay. So what about SEO? Should people be really focusing on SEO or should they focus more on title and thumbnail?
I mean, isn't title SEO?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you got to go on both. I think they're both just as important. You're constantly trying to figure it out. I mean, the weird thing though, I'll tell you what though, I think that thumbnail, the coming soon, it's got like a flying car and stuff like that that I just put up. That's a good thumbnail, but the SEO behind the title is kind of garbage. Coming soon to Orlando, like nobody's searching for that. I mean, not that I could find on TubeBuddy or Morning Fame, and yet it's taken off. And so I think that for me, shooting video that people want to watch, that I would want to watch, is probably first and foremost it. Trying to game the system. The AI is way smarter than you and I, right? I think it's just like creating good video that people want to watch, having a really good thumbnail along the way. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, I did the whole paid ads for a while, and in fact, the agent that I was showing the other day, I said, "Here's a video I just put out. Look at my watch time. It's a 8 minute video, and it was like 6 minutes of watch time.
It's
It's pretty
awesome.
good." I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's very good.
let's look at the watch time on this video. 1 minute and 10 second out of an almost 12 minute video. I'm like, what do you think YouTube is what's telling what do you think YouTube is looking at your video and saying? Is it saying, "Oh, this is a banger video," or is this a video that nobody really is paying attention to?
Right. Yeah. Nobody's paying attention. And now you've taught YouTube that that video is garbage.
And you've taught YouTube that you are just a piggy bank. And that's why I think paid ads are just the worst thing. There's a lot of people that, it depends too on the content. If you're doing a 1 minute
Um,
video that you're trying to get in front of people to get them to watch your channel, that might be different. But if
sure.
you're putting out a neighborhood video, yeah, that might not be the way to go for it. So I think you have to find the balance for your channel. I mean, what do
Yeah, I
you think?
agree. I'm not against ads. Like having I think having a separate channel with 30-second, 1 minute ads that push people towards your main channel, that's probably a good idea. I haven't done it yet, but that's the only way I would probably run ads at this point.
One thing that's hitting the YouTube scene is shorts.
Mhm.
I noticed your channel. I don't see any shorts on there. Are you getting into shorts? Or are you just taking your 8, 9 minute content out?
Just trying to keep in that 7 to 9 minute is kind of my sweet spot for my channel. And I have
Cool.
not. We have got three shorts up, and they did like really really badly. And so I think maybe that's another thing is like maybe you run shorts on another channel. I know a lot of big content creators are doing that where they've got like Gary V shorts or Mr. B shorts, and like they're running stuff off that. But I don't know. I'm just sticking with what I know.
Yeah, I've started working them in, and I'm trying to keep them on relevant topics. Obviously, I talk about the market and things like that on my channel. I'm sure you on your live streams talk about the market quite a bit, but
Yep.
I try to do like if there's something that's a good piece of info that I can make a bigger video out of, I'll throw a short out that says, "Hey, what do you think about this? The Zillow thing. So, should we put this on the Real Migos?" And it just like boom, it was like almost 2,500 views, all this feedback, people getting mad at me, and all this fun stuff. So, I think people should play with it, but I don't know that it's going to actually convert the way like an Instagram reel would, right?
Yeah, I think that's that. I think you just hit it there. Is like I know YouTube wants to compete with TikTok and Instagram. I get it. There's a lot of eyeballs there. But like, why do people come to YouTube? They come to binge watch longer form content or get a question answered. And so I don't go to YouTube. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a YouTube short. And so I kind of
Yeah,
look at my own behavior of like, where am I going to put more short form content? It's going to be on Instagram. Personally, that's where we would do it. So we're going to stick with long form until I feel like the behavior of everybody changes.
right. So, what would be your advice to any agents that are trying to get into YouTube or are struggling right now? What's your best last piece of advice for them?
Man, I think just consistency and getting out of your own way. Many people are like, well, I don't look good on video, or I'm upset about X, Y, and Z of how I look, and I don't like how I sound. I mean, like, here's the deal: like, it's really not about you. It's about the consumer, and can you bring value to them? And when you start thinking a little bit more like that, I feel like things get a little bit easier. So between that and staying super consistent, don't go in this for a 1 or 2 month kind of thing. Like commit to it for a year, and then you're constantly adjusting along the way. When you have one video that takes off, great, do more of those. And that would be probably my best advice.
Awesome, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining the channel today. And this has been a delight. If people want to reach out to you and just ask a few questions, what's the best place for them to do that?
Instagram's perfect at Ken Pozek, and yeah, I'll get back right to you.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. And if you found value in this video and the content we're doing, just hit the subscribe button, drop all the comments below for Ken, because he'd love to answer those for you too. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching.